to Faith Matters. I'm your host, Dr. Teresa A. Smith, Dr. Taz. Faith Matters is a space for real conversations about belief, discernment, and decision making in everyday life. Not faith as a performance or perfection, but faith as a lens for how we navigate work, relationships, leaderships, and the moments that test who we really are. In a world that feels loud, divided, and uncertain, many people are asking the same question: how do I stay grounded when everything around me feels unstable? This question is what this series explores. Each episode invites us to slow down, examine the pressures we are under, and consider how faith shapes our choices when clarity is not guaranteed. Today's conversation is part of a 4-episode limited series. You can listen in any order, but each episode builds on the same foundation: discernment, courage, awareness, and preparation. I'm joined by Dennis Perkins, whose work centers on faith as something lived, not performed, and wisdom as something practiced, not just quoted. So wherever you're listening from, excuse me, take a breath, settle in, and let us talk about why faith still matters when life gets complicated. Dennis.
Oh, Teresa.
Thank you. I am enjoying our series.
I am too.
So I want us to just jump in here today. People have access to more information than ever before. Yet many feel more confused, divided, and isolated, frankly. Messages are constant, narratives are complete. Truth often sounds like an opinion, and opinion often represents itself as fact.
You said a lot.
I know, and it reflects the world that we live in.
Mm-hmm.
So when you talk about deception being camouflage, what does that actually look like today?
I'll tell you how I got that, and I think I don't know whether I've talked to you about this or not. One day I was in my home over in Madison, and I went over to the television and I said, I'm gonna watch a little bit of news, and turned on the TV, and as soon as I turned it on, I could hear the words, "the camouflage of deception." And I thought that was, I said, I said, just as I was about to turn the news on. And so there are many things that people that cover, just because we learn to trust something doesn't necessarily mean it's good for us, right? Mm-hmm. Some captors are trusted by the ones that well, am I saying this right? The person that captures another person, let's say if they've been captured, a lot of times they'll start to trust the person that's capturing them. And so is that captor, and they build a certain amount of trust for that person, and they can become comfortable, even in a situation that's really a danger to them. It is threatening to them, but you get, people they adjust to even abusive or neglectful situations, and they can be it can get to a place where you're comfortable with it, right? We live in a society where right is really projected as being wrong, and wrong is right. And so there are a lot of things that are undercover. And I believe really that the covers are being pulled off today. You're seeing more things that are coming to the light, more exposure, but things have been really well hidden. And where we think that maybe news is a good thing, maybe watching the news, and we don't even know whether something is actually and you've heard the term being psyoped. It's a psychological operation.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more of a military term, but you being in that field, you know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But some things can be done as a psychological operation in warfare. And I think that we have a lot of that going on right now today, where things are camouflaged and packaged in a way where we think that a lie is the truth and the truth is a lie. And I think that everything plays off the truth. If there wasn't truth, then there couldn't be a lie. There wouldn't be any lies if there wasn't truth first, right? And this is just me saying that. And so what a lie has to do is a lie always tries to mimic the truth. You don't just get out there and lie first. Then what are you going to compare it with? Then you come along and tell the truth about it. People are going to be more prone to believe the lie because that's the first message they heard. And it's like, Satan, how he did Eve, he came along after God had established the truth and it told them, don't eat of the tree in the midst of the garden, because if you do, you'll die. And the enemy said, didn't God say, don't eat of that tree? And he came and asked the question, to say, he did say that, didn't he? But the way he phrased it, I'm sure it was to make them think, yeah, he said it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So what? So what are you saying? Why you ask that? I mean, we know he said it. So why are you saying it? Well, it's because, he told you that, didn't he? Yeah. Well, he lied to you. What? He lied to me. And so here we go. And so we're building something that was true. God knew he made the tree. He made man, he made woman in his own image and likeness. And so here we go with this deception. And so this is the society that we live in. Tell me this. Why would people be so divided today if there weren't some deception going on? Why would we have a Republican Party and a Democratic Party? Why would we have right or left? Why would we have Baptist or Episcopalian? Why would we have all these divisions when you only got one truth, but yet you got all these divisions because somebody said, well, I don't like it that way. I don't like it that way. I think I'll go over here and start something new over here, or I'll do something over here. And so you got all these divisions, yet there's only one truth. There's not a lot of different truths out here. And the only thing I think that causes people to be so divided, there was a time when people had one language. There was only one language on the earth. And because the people got together in unity and they were thinking the same way, talking the same language, and they decided, we're going to build a tower to heaven. And they decided on that. And they said, well, let's do that. God said, it got his attention. And he said, wait a minute, let me go down and see what they're doing here. And he saw that if they went ahead and tried to accomplish this, that they would. He said, wait a minute, there's no telling what, and I'm just speaking, paraphrasing it. There's no telling what they'll accomplish if I don't go down and confuse their language so that they can't understand each other. Because otherwise, based on that unity that they had, singleness of mind, and them coming together, man, they were about to accomplish something that God did not want them to accomplish. And so think about it. When we're together, we can do a lot more when we're in unity and together moving forward. There's almost nothing that can stop us unless we are going against the grain that God, going against the grain with God. But otherwise, just think about it, what we could do when we're in unity. And so in Psalm 133, I think I may have mentioned this before, how, I was a Mason once upon a time. And, that's one of the Psalms that we quote in Masonry. how good and how pleasant it is. And I'm not a Mason now. How good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity, right? And as you go on through it and go on through it, it gets to the part that it talks about that unity is a place. And it says there, the Lord, there's a blessing now attached to the unity. It's a place that you get to in the spirit of unity where there's no weapon formed against that unity that can prosper. And because it said God rewards unity with a blessing. That's where blessings abound. That's where the blessing lies, in unity. And so what the enemy wants is disunity, division, because it eliminates the possibility of you attaining a blessing. He doesn't want you blessed. There's a scripture that talks about, that God daily loads us with benefits every single day, benefits, blessings. And he daily loads us with benefits. We've got benefits and blessings that we haven't even tapped into, but they're available, made available every day. His mercies are new every morning. And so they're new and fresh things always coming to us, but we have to come into agreement with the source that's providing these things in order for us to receive them. So we have to, in order to receive, we have to be in agreement with that,
Okay. So Dennis, my question is, why do you think the deception often spreads quietly rather than dramatically? Because you talked about the deception. Why is it that it's a slow moving thing versus a overnight thing?
Yeah. Well, something that happens suddenly is normally going to get your attention. But somebody can gradually poison another individual, and they gradually put a little bit of, cyanide, whatever it is, I don't know, arsenic or whatever they may use in a person's food or in their drink, and they gradually start to be poisoned. And they just gradually, they don't notice it. They don't, it's hard to notice it. And so over time, the enemy will try and come in. That spirit of division will try to come in, and gradually feed you information. If you get to the point where you start feeding from that or eating from that, you're going to gradually develop you're going to acquire a taste for it. It takes, I remember when I started trying to drink alcohol, that was the worst experience. I gradually, but I felt like, oh, if I do this, I'll be cool. I'll be in with my, my friends. And so I gradually started sipping on alcohol. It's bad taste. And I gradually, the more I started, and I saw what the side effects were, I said, it makes you feel kind of good. And so, I continued to do it because I was getting something out of it. And I started acquiring a taste for it. And next thing I know, I'm out just, hey, drinking with everybody else, having a good time, not even thinking about how it tastes. It no longer has that bad taste anymore.
But and Dennis, so, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go on.
Let me ask this question because
sure.
I think you can use that example to help people to understand it. You write about the separation of the indoctrination of separation.
Yeah, indoctrination.
And we're talking about how people slowly evolve. So how does separation begin, and why does it feel justified to people while it's happening? So now understand the example you just used. You had to acquire a taste for the alcohol. So that was a slow process, but then there was some separation from who you used to be to who you were becoming, because you were trying to become more, fit in more with your friends. But then you just said you was out just having a good time with everybody. So my question is, how does separation begin? Which you've already talked about it just a little. And then how does it feel? And then why do people justify it while it's happening? So with your example, you've now acquired the taste for the alcohol. Why do we justify that acquired taste now?
There's something about when you drink or whatever, but this still good. When we get involved in, let's say, a drinking, for instance, what's the end result of drinking? it alters your ability to perceive things. It gives it, you're in an altered state of being. You're no longer yourself, but the real self has been altered to respond a certain way, just to feel a certain way. You're not going to reason the same way. There's an alternate mindset that you develop. There's some things that may be subconscious that are going to come to the surface, and some things that you maybe have hidden back or held back from saying. You start saying it because there's no filter anymore. You just boom, and you're drunk, or you high or whatever, but it's an altered state of being. Well, it's the same thing with people believing the truth or believing a lie. You can say something enough till you're so drunken with that aspect of it. This is the way I think. And you keep hearing it, and you keep hearing it, and you keep saying it, and you keep saying it. Well, eventually, that's going to be your influence. That's what's going to go. The tongue is what you say and what you hear that's going to determine what direction you go. Every time. What does it say about in Proverbs? It talks about the tongue. There's death and there's life in the power of it, right? But in order, you're going to say something, but you're going to also hear something. So you're putting that into your program. You're putting it into your program every day. If I say I'm sick, I'm sick, I'm sick, I'm sick. I can say I'm well, I'm well, I'm well, I'm well. And whatever I'm hearing myself say, that's what my body is going to say. Oh, well, Sale, you get over there and do what you're supposed to do. Sale, get over there and do what you're supposed to do. And next thing you know, I'm well. I'm feeling better because that's what I'm programming into my body. Every cell is saying something back to me. Oh, I'm supposed to be well? Yes. Or I'm supposed to be sick, whatever.
Well, Dennis, then my question becomes, what does this new programming that we have been indoctrinated in, what does it cost us emotionally, spiritually, or relationally? Because even when we believe we are protecting ourselves, so if we continue with the alcohol example, you're just having fun. You're just being sociable. But what is it costing us, this separation, this new way of thinking? We've adapted a whole new truth. What does it cost us emotionally, spiritually, and with our relationships?
That's a good question. Because at the time that we're being intoxicated, we're becoming intoxicated with this mindset, and we think, I don't really want to be bothered. Don't wake me from this. Don't give me coffee when I'm trying to, get my little high on, when I'm trying to get my drunk on, when I'm trying to do this other thing, because I like I like the atmosphere that I'm in. I like the environment that I'm creating for myself. I'm around the right people. The people that I'm around, they're having fun too. So the more I drink, the more I do this, and I can jump right in and have fun with them. I can get out there and dance and act a clown. Nobody's going to say, oh, he looks so out of place. Everybody else is doing the same thing. So I'm fitting in and I'm feeling good about it, And it's that way. When we choose political parties, it's that way when we choose churches, it's that way when we choose other things. And we can kind of lose our identity, who we really are. Who did God make me to be? How am I supposed to be viewing these things? And we stop asking those questions and we leave the critical thinking outside. We come in and, here we are, critical thinking put aside, because it doesn't match the environment that we're in. So we have to kind of leave it out there, and we fit in. And so that's the problem with today. Deception, a lot of times people want to be deceived because they want to be received. So they don't mind being deceived in order to be received. And that's the problem, in a lot of situations. It's like I'm trying to get to a comfortable place. And if I'm in a comfortable place, I'm viewing it how other people see me. I want them to view me a certain way, not how I view myself, not how God views me, but I want to be viewed the way, you view me. I mean, I want you to view me in a good way. And so I'm going to appease you by fitting in this little mold that's been set for me.
Now, Dennis, I just want to level set for the audience. First of all, Faith Matters is being brought to you by DQ Consulting, but we're talking about the camouflage of deception, and we're talking about the indoctrination of separation. And when you're going through this and you're highlighting things, I'm really thinking now my mind has swung to relationships, because you made a very good statement here that I don't want the audience to miss. Some people accept the indoctrination and the separation because, meaning they're accepting being deceived because they want to be received.
Yeah.
So we're willing to be deceived in order to be received. So I'm willing to suppress who I am so that this particular group of people receive me. They think highly of me. Now I'm talking people now. I want to go down to relationship. Right. Sometimes people do that in relationships also. If I'm with this person because they have this title, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, people are going to think of me a certain way. It doesn't matter that this is a toxic relationship.
Right.
But I'm willing to put aside who I am
come on.
in order to be received by that person, even though they may be abusive. But to the external people on the outside, we're a power couple. And so I just want to draw that parallel there, because you were really sprouting some information. Like I always say, you have to listen and go back and listen 3 or 4 times, because that is so powerful. Is another way of looking at why people sometimes choose to stay in places. It could be a job now, guys. Stay in places that you know is not feeding you, feeding your soul, feeding your essence. Yes, you're getting your paycheck, but it's not feeding your soul or your essence. So again, this idea of how do we use faith where it's not, I'm just performing. And by performing, I mean, I'm quoting scriptures, and the Lord said that, no, let's internalize the faith so that we can use it to navigate the world that we're now living in, meaning the bigger world and then your world. So Dennis, given all of this that you done said to us now, how do I keep my discernment lens on without just being suspicious of everybody and everything?
Yeah.
How do I balance?
Yeah. Now that's a good question, and because we don't do these things perfectly, right? And I guess the best way is when you deal with truth a lot and you pray and ask the Lord to open the eyes of my understanding, Lord. Open my eyes to see what I need to see, and cause my hearing to all. And, if I'm familiar with what the truth says, if I'm familiar enough with truth, then when I hear a lie, I'm going to be more sensitive to what a lie sounds like as opposed to the truth. What did we do with money? People that work with money, they test them out, or they train them on the real thing. Mm-hmm. And so when you get around the truth enough, familiarize, know the truth. He says those that know the truth are the ones that are set free, not the ones that are familiar with the truth, but the ones that know. And so it's like in a relationship, you have to know the person that you're in a relationship with. You can like the person. You can be attracted to the person. You can like some of the things they like. Oh, I love that too. Oh, yeah, yeah, I like that kind of food. Yeah, and those are the things that are the external things. You can and think that you have a lot in common when you really don't. The inner part of that person could be something totally different. And so, so we go shallow rather than going deep. And in relationships, we go on the surface, and we know how we want the person to look. We know what places we want to go. We want, and all the good stuff. And it looks right, and they're presentable. You feel like, well, they're handsome, or they're beautiful enough for me to take out in the public's eye, and people are gonna say, "Ooh, girl, where you get him from?" Or, "Ooh, man, that." And so we wanna look good on the surface, and I think that's practically that's what we feel like is good, because that's what society has dictated to us so often. That's what we see on television, in the movies. That's what we hear if we listen to radio or on videos. That's projected to us over and over and over again. When you got other societies where those things don't matter as much, and they're just totally different. If I went to a group of um, Amish people, and I wanted to be so flashy and all that, it wouldn't mean a thing to them.
Yeah.
It wouldn't mean anything. And so quality to some people is not quality to other people. So it's like, get out of that. Come on out of that. That's what the Lord would always tell people: come out from among them. Come out from among them. Why do you want to sound like everybody else, look like everybody else, think like everybody else? Come out from among them. Who did I create you to be? What do how do I want you to deal with this situation? And so those are the things that we need to come back to. We need to come back home. We need to come back to who we really are. And our identity is in Christ, and mine is. I can't talk for anybody else. My true identity, he called us a royal priesthood and a holy nation, right? If we saw ourselves as royalty,
Mm-hmm.
and we saw ourselves as kings, queens, if we saw ourselves having authority, because he gave us authority in the beginning. And what the enemy tried to do was say, if I can bring a separation between them and God, they'll never know their authority. They'll never walk in who they are. And so that's been the snow job that the enemy has put on us for all these years, all these centuries. It's I've got to divide them. I've got to keep them, always in commotion, always in strife and fighting and all these things, because that's actually loading up the enemy. The enemy thrives on that kind of atmosphere and environment. And God thrives on what? Peace, love, joy, all the things that we see less of in the world. No character, just so.
So, Dennis, what when I try to think about now, how do I activate all of what you've said? I'm a cook, and so what comes to mind is that we
Good. Ooh, girl.
We've been polarized.
How do you do this? I can tie into what where you're going right now. I can tie right into it. You're so cool. I tell you, sharp.
It's the Lord.
Oh, yeah.
And I want to go back because our time is about to come to a closure. So please help me.
Okay.
You started off talking about the Stockholm syndrome, where people have been held captive. They've been taken. That's the Stockholm syndrome. You've been taken, and then you become close to the person who has you captured, who have captured you or has you in bondage. So think about this, guys, from relationships, jobs, whatever you need to do to just hold on to what I'm telling you. So you have been taken by a thought, a belief, by a person, by an ideology, by a relationship, by a place of employment, whatever it is. You now they become your, for lack of a better way of saying it, they become your Messiah. You are now enmeshed with them. They're everything, but they're your capture. Then you talked about the psychological op. And that's psychology in its operation. But it's a manipulation. Lots of times, lots of times, because we don't want to be too emphatic. Lots of times when you have been captured by whomever or whatever, there's that psychological op taking place.
Right.
Now, we don't realize that we have been taken sometimes.
Right.
Because it may have been a slow process, that slow indoctrination. But once we've been indoctrinated, we become separated. And we talked about, I would prefer, once I'm in it, to be deceived so I can continue to be received. But this discernment, well, it's kind of hard to discern things when you're not really dealing with the truth. You're dealing with a version of the truth that you have now decided that you're going to play with. And I say play with because you're going to play in that sandbox today. Okay. But, you done took me to saying, Jesus, you good with it, Lord. But, as I said, I'm a cook. And I learned that in order to bake a cake from scratch, I'm going to measure up my flour. And then I'm going to put that flour in my sifter. So whether I'm sifting flour or I'm sifting sand now, I'm going to turn it. And when I am turning the sifter, now I'm talking about where you laid it down so well for us, Dennis. What are the tools that we use to understand where we are and to try to get out of it? Well, when you take a sifter, because I sometimes sift my sugar. I just be in a sifting hat. I just having fun. So I put sugar in there because sometimes the sugar can have some lumps in it. It's sweet, but it's got lumps now. So, you're sifting it. Well, when you are sifting, you're now trying to sift out the lumps and let the refinements come through. Well, that refinement is going to be God. It's going to be the truth because you've got to use a filter or a sifter in order to see the truth. Because if you don't see it, or as Dennis said, you're going to have to test it.
Right.
To see what the identity is of that organization, that person, to see if you are really aligning the way God wants us to align.
Right.
That's how the discernment gets activated. Because if you're just always open to everything because you want to be received, you're going to be deceived. But you've got to have a way to sift through the noise, what you see on TV. You got to, what people are saying to you. As my neighbor, she's dead and gone now, but I've never forgot it. Alberta Lyles Streeter, Bert Lyles. Bert said to me years ago, when I was a little girl, she said to me one day, I don't know what I said to her, but I kind of remember. I was talking about somebody in my family, and she said to me, "You gonna believe everything somebody says to you?" I never forgot it. Now somebody said, "You never forgot it?" No, because in that moment, I didn't understand it, but I never forgot what she was saying to me. She was saying, "Teresa, baby, you better look at that through the sifter. The lenses, you better see if they giving you sugar, are they giving you arsenic, are they giving you flour, are they giving you Splenda or stevia? What are they giving you?" So Dennis, you laid it out for us. The tools that we have to use to understand what the camouflage is and what the indoctrination is. Because if it's camouflage, we can't see it. It's a slow process. Then they've indoctrinated us.
Right.
But when we try to get out of it, and it's okay because life happens, but we have to be able to begin to restore who we are. And as you said, we are royal. We were born into a royal priesthood.
Yeah. That's what God's trying to get us back to. And this is why, when Jesus was about to leave the disciples, he's about to leave them. They had depended on him to be, their source for wisdom, direction, all those things. He said, "Wait a minute, I'm not going to leave you alone." He said, "I'm going to send you a comforter." So this comforter is going to have the same attributes that I have.
Uh-huh.
Only thing is, they call him Holy Spirit because he's a spirit. He's not a flesh and blood man.
Mm.
And so he's a spirit. And he said, what will he do? He said, he will lead you and he will guide you into all truth. And so and no other religion says that. No other religion other than the one, I guess I don't know if you want to call it religion, the belief. Jesus said, I'm the way. So in his way, let's just say it like that. Nobody else that and I studied other religions, could say that I'm the way, I'm the truth. He said, I'm the truth and I'm the life. And so then he's going to come and say, well, I'm going to send you another comforter that's going to do the same thing. And so that's where faith has to come in, because who is this invisible thing that's supposed to be leading me and guiding me? But he said one thing, Teresa, and he said that he will come, not only will he dwell with you, he will live in you. So, in other words, that's your barometer. He lives on the inside of you. And so he can help you in situations that nobody else can, because he's there all the time. But you have to draw on him. And it kind of keeps you centered when you know you got somebody on the inside of you that's going to lead you and guide you back to yourself, back to whom you were made to be, back to how you're supposed to see things and view things. It's got to be that way, because he could tell you tomorrow, Teresa, and he's telling you, I ain't gonna say move to Mississippi, I would love that, but move to Dallas, Texas. Why, Lord? Oh, because I need you there. Mm-hmm. And he won't tell you anything else. Mm-hmm. And of a surety that, oh, I'm supposed to go. I just keep on getting this. I know I'm supposed to leave and go to Dallas, Texas. Mm-hmm. And all the time he's saying, I got things set up for Teresa over in Dallas. Mm-hmm. And she may still want to stay in North Carolina. Mm-hmm. She can do that. I'll permit her. I'll allow her to do that. But her blessings are over here. Mm-hmm. And so why would we need that leader? We need that guide to show us the way to our provision, to our blessing. And so people don't get that, and they think that if I can hang with the crowd, well, you're missing everything. Think of all the things we're just passing by us. Blessings, opportunity, everything passing by us, because we're so centered and focused on hanging out with the crowd, losing our identity, selling out to something much cheaper, to be, I don't know, Teresa, but that's just, I see it so much more, I guess, because I'm getting older and I'm practicing some things that we're talking about. And I just see it so plain and simple to see, and understand.
Well, Dennis, you just gave those who may be feeling guarded or divided or disconnected what they need to do this week. To pause and reflect on, as you said, Jesus, for those of faith, he was going to lead, but he was going to send the Holy Spirit. So we know it's basically him in a spirit form. And you explained that so well, because he was flesh and blood, but he came back in the Holy Spirit, and he's going to dwell within us to lead and guide us to our provision and to keep us, and I want to say that word, they don't like that word anymore, but to help us to take the blinders off our eyes so that we can see clearly.
Right.
So, this has just been so powerful. So I want to say, to our audience, thank you for spending this time with us. Faith Matters is not about having all the answers. It's about learning how to sit with the right questions and make decisions with greater clarity, courage, and intention. As you move through the rest of your week, I invite you to carry one thought with you. What is the moment? What is this moment asking of you, not in theory, but in practice? You don't have to rush, find an answer. You don't even have to explain it to anyone else. This is about you. It's only about you. And so reflection, which I know sometimes gets a bad rap, but it's part of the work. This conversation is one of a 4-part episode limited series. Each episode stands on its own, but together they explore how faith functions when life feels complex, uncertain, or demanding. If today's conversation gave you language for something you have been carrying, sit with it. Let it guide how you listen, respond, and choose. And until next time, before you go trying to take care of someone else, make sure you take